Good afternoon, everyone. Today we had planned on talking on prevention of stroke and what are some of the conditions that predisposes you to stroke. What are some of the medical conditions that exposes you to stroke? What are some of the habits that we may moderate or somehow or control so that we don't get exposed to stroke? Remember, I said stroke is a silent killer of another silent killer. Okay, sometime before you see stroke coming in, there are other conditions that have stepped in, like maybe there's heart problem, a lot of cardiovascular issues like health problem that involve your blood vessels and all that. We have a lot of that happening before actually you see stroke stepping in. Sometimes we have diabetes. It's a condition. We have high blood pressure. We have high level of cholesterol, and people not taking their medication either during this condition or not working with their healthcare team to meet up this. So again, that is what we'll be talking on today. So if you are just watching me, I want to say hello from everywhere around the world. You're watching me from South Korea, you're watching me from Cameroon, from Africa, from the United States, everywhere around the world. I want to say hello. Whatever is your time right there, I just say make good use of it. Life is beautiful, and have fun right there. And again, this is what we'll be discussing today. Last video I spoke about stroke, and this video I will be talking on how do we prevent stroke. What are some of the conditions that exposes us to stroke, and what are the things that we could do to prevent stroke. Now some in our last video I did mention about some certain conditions that can expose you to stroke. For example, high blood pressure, diabetes and all that, but I didn't talk more on that, and today we'll be looking into that. Now, that said, now how can we prevent stroke? We're gonna look at that as well. So let's begin by looking at what are some of the conditions that exposes us to stroke. The first thing I want to talk about is high levels of cholesterol. High level of cholesterol. So usually when we consume our food is made up of lipids, and we know we have the high density lipid and the low density lipids found in our food. For example, our red meat. I've spoken a lot about red meat because that is something affecting our community right here, the immigrant community in the United States, affecting our communities back home and wherever they find themselves. And that is the problem that is affecting most Americans today. Okay, because this food is readily available, because red meat is readily available, because we can do all sort of barbecue, we do not control our diet. We do not control our diet. Okay, again, if you're just joining us, thanks for watching, and you can put in your comment in the comment section. I will get back to you, and again, I thank you all so much for joining. Okay, it's a beautiful afternoon just behind the house. You can see the forest behind. It's just a beautiful afternoon. I feel like to give something out there. So again, when we talk of this, what can really benefit us? Now, cholesterol, it's a deadly killer within us when it gets to a certain level. High level of cholesterol, it's very dangerous. What happens? How do this happen? How can this lead to even one medical condition and another medical condition? The high level of cholesterol will mean that we will have some sort of fat plaques, right? When I talk of fat plaques, we know our blood vessel, it's like this. It has a hole going through it. When you consume for example, excessive amount of lipids, especially the bad one, that comes from, the bad one is the cholesterol I'm talking of, that comes especially from our meat. What happens? That lipid gets into our blood vessels, is deposited around our blood vessels, and we know that we have a hole in our blood vessels that allow for the passage of blood. When that hole has been reduced in diameter. It has been reduced in size due to the fact that fat that we have been consuming from our meat has been deposited around the inner circle of it. What happens? That reduces the surface area in which our blood is flowing. There are things that will step up from that condition due to high level of cholesterol. High blood pressure is one. High blood pressure is one. That high blood pressure, how does it develop? We explained that our very first video that we produced was high blood pressure, which is the silent killer out there. We said blood pressure is simply the force that is exerted on our blood on the surfaces of our blood vessels. So if there is a larger area, the force is distributed. But now, because that fat is there, deposited around our wall, reduces the size of it, what happens? You can feel it right there that is not that has decreased in its size. So again, that blood now has to go through a lot of pressure to be able to go through our blood vessels, and that is where high blood pressure steps in. So high blood pressure is one of the medical conditions that will arise as a result of excessive amount of cholesterol in our blood. Cholesterol is that bad fat. We don't need it. We don't need it. It's the bad fat. So when you go out there, you're consuming excessive amount of meat, and you're doing all these things that have a high level of cholesterol, you need to know that that a lot is in there. Okay, so that's what a lot is in that meat that is damaging your health. A lot of cholesterol is in that meat that is damaging your head. You need to moderate that. Okay. Another thing I want to talk about is when it comes to cholesterol. Remember, it's like you having a pipe. If I used a water pump, I pump water through a pipe. If the hole of the pipe is bigger, what happened? That water is going to flow easily through it. It therefore means that less force is going to be needed by the pump to pump that water through the pipes of a larger size. Now, if I use a smaller pipe and I place it to that my pump that is working with the same pressure, what will happen? That pump is coming with a lot of force. But what happens? Now, this time around, I'm using a very small pipe. And what happens? Again, we know what is going to happen. Because the pump is pumping with so much pressure, because the hole of our pipe, the pipe is smaller, that pump is doing a lot of work. And a lot of work, but really no results, right? So again, that is what happened. So if that is happening, that therefore means that many things is happening to your health that is compared to this scenario. Look at it this way. When the size of your blood vessel reduces in diameter, what will happen? Our heart is used to pumping blood. Our heart now is that pump. I'm comparing our heart to that pump that is pumping blood through the pipes. Let's say you're doing your gardening or whatnot. Okay, our heart now is that pump. If our heart is trying to pump blood through that pipe, and that pipe has a very small hole, it therefore means that our heart is going through a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. And what is that going to lead to? There is high blood pressure right there, and it could lead to damages of the heart. The heart could be damaged. The valves could be destroyed. We could have heart failure right there. So cholesterol is not a very good thing when it comes to healthy heart, when it comes to blood pressure. Cholesterol is dangerous. And majority of our cholesterol, we have other sources of cholesterol, but most of it that is affecting us is coming from the red meat that a lot of us consume, especially in the United States as immigrant. Because the meat is readily available, we can do all sort of barbecue. You forget about your health. You don't look after your health, and you go ahead consuming that meat a lot, consuming that soya, consuming that barbecue a lot. And what happened? That cholesterol is depositing in your blood, and that again is very dangerous. And that is something I wanted to reiterate. Another disease that exposes us, again, that cholesterol, you have seen what is going to happen. So if cholesterol is depositing, it could lead to high blood pressure. And we know if there is high blood pressure, what will happen? The high blood pressure could lead to rupturing of the blood vessels. It could lead to the blood vessels breaking, and if that blood vessel happens to break in your brain, what will happen? You have blood pumping out everywhere, and again, it's going to lead to blood clot. And when there is blood clot and blood everywhere around your brain, it's going to lead to the death of the brain cells, and that is where stroke comes in. So you can see how high level of cholesterol leads to high blood pressure, which can also lead to heart failure, and again, it exposes you to stroke. Okay, so another disease that we want to talk about that we need to monitor is blood pressure. Again, I already mentioned that. If you are that type that you have already been diagnosed with blood pressure, what does that tell you? It let you know that if I have blood pressure, it therefore means that I need to monitor myself. I need to check at all times. I need to make sure that my blood pressure is within control. That is very important. I need to check at all times to make sure that my blood pressure is within control. So if my blood pressure skyrockets and I'm not aware of it, what will happen? It could lead to that rupture. So if you have been diagnosed with high blood pressure, it doesn't mean that you're going to have stroke, but it simply tells you that you're going to be monitoring to make sure that stroke doesn't step in. Okay? And what do you need to do? You need to take your medication on time. You need to check in with your doctor for healthcare. Okay? Everything we say right here are just medical advice. You check with your doctor to make sure that you are on the right track. Okay? When you get knowledge, don't solely rely on the knowledge, but how do you move that knowledge in such a way that it has an impact in your life? That is what I want to encourage in this page. Okay? So check in with your doctor right there. Now, another disease that we need to monitor is diabetes. You need to control your diabetes. If you have been diagnosed with either type 1 diabetes or type 2 diabetes, or if you have been diagnosed with diagnosed of being pre-diabetic, it therefore means that you need to start monitoring your weight. You need to start monitoring what you eat. You need to start monitoring your blood pressure. You need to start monitoring your blood sugar level. Okay? You need to also start monitoring your cholesterol, because all these things, what we have noticed is that they work together. Okay? Remember, I mentioned that in my previous video, that blood pressure is somehow linked with diabetes. Diabetes is linked with high level of cholesterol, and all that is linked to stroke. It's linked to heart failure and all that. It's the diseases that move together. Those are the diseases of the cardiovascular system. When we talk of cardiovascular system, we mean the heart and the blood vessels. Okay, they will always go together. When you get one, there is a tendency that the other ones unfold. So that is what we need to check. Okay, so again, another condition is heart. If you have a heart disease, if you have been diagnosed with a heart disease, or if you have been told that you are at risk of a heart disease, you also need to start following up with your health care. You need to follow up with your health care. You need to talk with your doctor as to what sort of exercise you can do and you cannot do. Why am I saying so? If you have been diagnosed or some sort of at risk of developing heart disease, it's not any type of exercise that you can do. There are some that are moderate, that your heart can tolerate, your body can tolerate, and there are some that you cannot tolerate. That is why you need to work with your healthcare provider to know what sort of activity you can do. Again, because you need to keep fit, you need to keep the blood flowing. Okay, that is very important. So we need to be able to treat that condition. You need to look at it and treat the disease condition and take care of that condition. Okay. The next thing that we want to talk about is take medication and work with healthcare team. That is very important. If you have been diagnosed with high blood pressure, one of the management of high blood pressure is to constantly check your blood pressure. I explained this. If you are in the United States or somewhere around the world, even in Cameroon, you can go to the pharmacy and get a blood pressure meter right there. Okay, that is going to help you monitor your blood pressure. You can do it yourself. You don't necessarily need to go to the hospital. You just need to be trained as to how to do that. Okay, so in a subsequent video, I will be producing a video on how do we use a blood pressure meter, how do you use a glucometer, because you can do that. You can do that. You don't need to report to the hospital to do that. You can do that. Monitor that for yourself. Okay, So if you have been diagnosed with either high blood, diabetes, some sort of heart condition, okay, you need to get treatment. You need to get treatment. You need to go out there and take care of yourself. Because when you don't take care of yourself appropriately, those health conditions gonna step in. Okay, those conditions gonna step in, and when those conditions step in, that will be very disastrous for your health. So that is what we would like to talk about when it comes to that. Okay, so please, we need to monitor that. We really need to monitor that. So monitor your blood pressure, monitor diabetes, monitor your level of cholesterol, take your medication, consult with your physician, go for your health checkup. When you do all of this and take care of all of these conditions that I've mentioned, and I've spoken on how these conditions are linked to stroke, if you are able to monitor this condition, take care of this condition, it reduces your chances of developing stroke. Now, another condition I want to talk about. Remember, when we spoke about stroke, we mentioned three types of stroke. We have the ischemic stroke, which means that, okay, the ischemic stroke means that we have blood vessels in the brain that are blocked due to a blood clot, and when that happens, the cells of the brain are starved of oxygen and nutrient, and they will die. And it also means that waste that is from that cells cannot be taken out of the cell and excreted. That again is a bad environment for the cells of the brain, and they will die again. We spoke about hemorrhagic stroke. Hemorrhagic stroke is when we have rupturing of the blood vessels. Okay, so sometimes in our brain there could be a rupture of the blood vessels in our brain, and when that rupture happens, breakage of the blood vessels, blood is going to move into our brain, into the interstitial spaces, and that again is a very bad thing to happen. Okay, that is very bad to happen to us. It's very bad, so we need to monitor that. Okay, another thing we discussed about, another type of stroke we discussed about was the mini stroke. The mini stroke. Mini stroke is like sometimes people go through a moment of stroke within 5 or less than 5 minutes. They don't even know. Okay, they just have that blockage right there, and after everything it gets back to normal. Again, if you are that type that you have been diagnosed of having mini strokes, you need to do a lot, because you don't want that mini stroke progress to major stroke like ischemic stroke or hemorrhagic stroke. You need to monitor that. And how can you monitor that? Checking your level of cholesterol, your blood pressure, control your diabetes, treat your heart disease if you have one. And how do you know? To go for your checkup. And once you have been diagnosed, it doesn't mean once you are diagnosed with a heart disease that is all about you. There are medication out there to take. There may be some procedures that you may be told to take. There may be some medical advice out there for you. So again, you need to follow those advice seriously, because if you follow them, it therefore means that your chances of developing stroke will reduce. Okay, take your medication on time, and also work with your healthcare team to manage your situation. Work with your healthcare team to manage your situation. If you are that type that you are worried about your health condition and you don't have the confidence, I don't think it's good for your health not to have the confidence, not to be outspoken with your healthcare team, or be able to talk to your doctor when you feel certain things happening in your body that you think that are normal. So you need to talk with your doctor as to that. Okay. Now, we have looked at all these diseases that exposes us to stroke. We have looked at all these diseases that expose us to stroke. High level of cholesterol is bad. Heart disease is bad. Blood pressure is bad. Diabetes is one of those diseases is bad that exposes us. Okay. Now, how then do we prevent these conditions that can expose us to stroke? That is something that is very important. In my previous video, I spoke about diabetes. How do we prevent diabetes? I spoke about high blood. How do we prevent high blood? Now, how do we go ahead to prevent this condition from developing that may lead us to develop stroke? First, choosing healthy food and drinks. It's very important. What you eat matters. Remember, it said, whatever you take in is whatever you send out. The health you have is whatever you have consumed, is whatever is projecting out there, is whatever is in your body. So whatever we eat is a reflection whatever we send out, and some of the things we send out are our health conditions, not just physics and urine. Some of them are our health conditions. Those are signs of what we are eating. Those are signs of what we are consuming. Okay. First, choosing healthy food and drinks. I've spoke a lot about red meat. Red meat is very dangerous. Please eat moderate amount of red meat. Okay. Instead of eating so much red meat, why don't you look for fish? Try chicken. It's even better. If you can eat pork due to your religion, I would prefer pork than red meat. Again, red meat is very dangerous. We have conditions that can step up from red meat like gout. Again, red meat has high level of cholesterol, and that high level of cholesterol could expose us to heart failure, heart diseases, could expose us to high blood pressure. That again is very important. Okay. Then another thing I want to talk about is when we talk of healthy drinks, what do we mean? I spoke a little more about alcohol consumption within the immigrant community here in the United States and even back home in Cameroon and everywhere around the world. When you are out there consuming large amount of Heineken, you need to know that in as much as it's a good drink, it was meant to be consumed in moderate amounts. When you consume that, it has high level of carbohydrate in them. Always pick up your bottle. Try to look on it. What is the level of carbohydrate? What is the level of sugar in Heineken? Check that. Always look at your drink. Be conscious of what you eat. Be conscious of whatever goes into your body. If you have been looking at Heineken, you will know that it's dangerous for your health if you go and you can sit at a moment and consume even 5 bottles of Heineken. The worst is when you are even consuming the Heineken and you are not exercising. How then do you want the waste to go out of your body? That again is very important. Okay, when you drink the beer, when you drink the Castor in Cameroon, when you drink the Beaufort, you drink all that. Are you exercising? When you consume the high level of meat out and all that, are you exercising? That again is very, very important. We need to moderate what we eat. Okay, so your drinks are very important. On drinks, we're gonna talk a little again more about alcohol in general. Okay, keep a healthy weight. Keep a healthy weight. If you have been diagnosed with having high level of cholesterol, if you have been have some sort of blood pressure, if you have been diagnosed of having diabetes or heart disease, it should occur to you that you need to monitor your weight. When your weight is bigger, it therefore means also that you are putting much work in your heart. Okay, that is why sometimes you see people that are have put on a lot of weight, they will have difficulty even moving. If you are that type that when you climb a couple of stairs, and you just start breathing and you feel that difficult, please, you need to check what is happening to you. If you are that type that is, instead of using the stairs, you find yourself all the time because you are in the developed world, you find yourself using elevator all the time. You're using the elevator all the time to get to where you are not doing yourself a favor. If you are that type that because you are in the developed world and car is readily available, even distances that you could walk, you just feel like driving. You don't want to do anything. You don't want to exercise. You are damaging your health. And when you damage your health, stroke is one of the things that is going to come for you because you are doing that. So you need to monitor that. So that is why I'm saying keep a healthy weight. To monitor your weight is something that you can do. You can get a weighing balance. You get on it almost every week. Check. Control whatever you eat. Reduce the level of alcohol you are consuming. Okay? Level of fatty food. Reduce your level of carbohydrate. That is probably gonna get down. Okay? Then another thing that I want to talk about is get regular physical activities. You need to exercise at all time. You need to do a lot of exercise. Okay, you go out there, try to do some exercise. If it's a week, get into the field just to play soccer. It's very helpful. If it's in a week, just to go out there running. Okay, if it means getting to your basement and just running on that treadmill for just 30 minutes every day, it's gonna help you. It's gonna be helpful for you. Okay, again, that is very important. Okay, we need to monitor that. Okay, another thing I want to talk about is don't smoke. If you have been diagnosed with high blood pressure, Diabetes is right there. High level of cholesterol. Please, why are you smoking? Don't smoke. You are at a high risk of developing stroke, and you increases your chances of developing stroke when you smoke and you know that you have all of these conditions I've named. Okay, high blood pressure, diabetes, high level of cholesterol, heart disease. You do yourself a favor, don't smoke. I know a lot of people will talk about addiction, but when you find yourself being pushed to the wall, and you have been told that if you keep on smoking, you cannot even live for 2 3 months, 6 months. Why? Do you want to kill yourself? You need to quit smoking. If you look at every tobacco you get, it's written right on it. Tobacco is not good for your health. They are defending themselves. They are protecting themselves. Are you protecting your own self? That is what matters. Are you protecting your own self? They are protecting themselves. Are you protecting your own self? That is what matters. Okay. Another thing I want to talk about is limit alcohol. Remember, I spoke about this. I said I'm going to come back to that to talk about alcohol consumption. You need to limit your alcohol consumption in general, be it Hennessy, be it liquors in general, being beer in general, being champagnes that are alcoholic in general. You need to limit the level of consumption of alcohol, because when you consume excessive amount of alcohol, please, and you have high blood pressure, you have diabetes, and you have some sort of heart disease that has been diagnosed, high level of cholesterol, you are calling that stroke to come very fast and take you. So you want to limit your alcohol consumption. You want to make sure that you are not consuming excessive amount of alcohol. That is very important. Okay, that is very important. Controlling your alcohol, it's very important. Please, I cannot emphasize that enough. Alcohol is a good thing, but it was never meant to be abused. And that is why when you abuse alcohol, it becomes addictive to your system. It's a good thing, but it was never meant to be consumed in large amount. Okay, a glass of wine, a glass of drink after work to relax, it's okay, but not 5 bottles of Heineken. Not sitting down and finishing a bottle of Hennessy by just 3 people or 4 people or 5 people. That again is bad. That is not meant. That was never meant. And that is why when we go out there today, we go to liquor stores, we go to cabaret. It's meant for you to get a glass of a good fresh wine, well mixed, for you to enjoy, right? So when you sit and start consuming large amount, what are you doing? How are you protecting your health? What are you doing to help? Okay, so please, these are the things I wanted to talk about on stroke today. And as you watch this video, please do myself a favor to share out there. Keep sharing, okay, because this information needs to get to so many people. Sometimes we have so many people that have died because they were never aware of their condition. They have high blood pressure, they don't even go for checkup. And one of the things I want to mention again, I want to keep advocating for, it's abnormal to just sit 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, you don't go to see your doctor. It's abnormal. You are not doing yourself a favor. It's not good. Sometimes we come from a culture where something must be happening before you go to see the doctor. We come from the culture where if you are not feeling, you get up that morning, you don't have that headache. Remember, something like high blood pressure, that is manifesting with as headache. Usually when you want to get that headache, it's when it's at that point, it's at the hyper point. Okay, it's at that point where it's very difficult to manage. That is when you start getting that headache. But if you are that type that you are going for your routine checkup, that could be discovered right on time when it's still advancing to that stage that is dangerous. Again, likewise diabetes, right? So if you are going for your routine checkup, your doctor will probably tell you, oh, your blood work. One of the things that is done for your routine physical checkup is blood work. Your doctor should be able to tell you that your A1C is now abnormal. You need to monitor your A1C. You are in a pre-diabetic condition. You are gradually getting there. You need to do some exercise. You need to reduce your level of alcohol consumption. All that is very important. Okay, all that is very important. So that is why we are working on this page to see that health awareness is our goal. Health awareness is what is out there. Health awareness is what everybody needs. Okay, so please, it's abnormal for you to just sit and not go for your health checkup in a year. 1 year passes, 2 year passes, and you just sit there. That culture where we come from, where we only go to the hospital because we feel we have the headache, we have running stomach, we have all this happening. Most of the time, when those things are exhibiting themselves, manifesting the physicals right there, they have already dealt with your inner body. And that is why you see sometimes people go to the hospital and the doctor say, oh, this is now really bad. You say, oh, and no, it started. Diseases are never hatched in a day. Diseases are never hatched in a day. It takes a gradual process for it to grow within your body. Then it manifests into the signs and symptoms that that you as an individual you can feel, okay, or someone else can see and analyze that, oh, this is what you are suffering from. So again, thank you so much for watching. This is all I had for us this evening. And the only thing I want to beg on everyone, knowledge is most important when we share it, when it get out there to so many people. Knowledge is very important when it can reach so many people out there that need it. But so I'm begging that we should share so that this knowledge can get to everybody out there. We need to monitor our health, because on this page we solely believe that health is what, okay? Your health is the millions that you don't even have, because people that sometimes have the millions, when they are down with certain diseases like cancer and all that happening with them, even with the blood pressure, the diabetes that has reached a stage that they could not manage, those the money become worthless at that time, because they cannot take care of that condition. And that is why health, you need to cherish your health. Your health are your millions that you are having. Your health is that material things that you have, right? So don't focus your mind on those things and you forget about the body, forget about the person that is working so hard to get those things in place. You need to take care of yourself. You need to go out there. Again, I know when I talk about this, I target again our migrant communities, having lived out there for some time now. And there's always a tendency of in the immigrant some society not having insurance wherever you are. Okay, when I used to live in South Korea, a lot of my brothers and sisters there, they will not have health insurance. Sometimes they have the opportunity to get that health insurance, but again, let's say in the month they are being charged $100. It seems so big for you to pay $100. Meanwhile, when you pay $100 for a month, let's say for a year, that is $1,200 for a year. Everybody, again, you know your pocket, right? We are not saying we know your pocket, but again, remember, your health is your word. What will it be if you amass all of this and you don't live to enjoy them? Okay, what will it be when you work so hard and at the end of the day you find yourself visiting the doctor and squandering all what you have worked for by paying for medical bills? So if you find yourself there, if that insurance costs you $100, $50, pay it and make use of it. Pay it and make use of it. Especially my brothers that I know in South Korea. Pay and make use of that insurance. Go to the hospital for your checkup. Go for your blood work. Let it check you. Korea has one of the best health system that I also know of. Okay, just like the United States. But again, many are there without that insurance. So again, we need to protect ourselves. And that is why am I touching that? Because of recent, I learned of a friend I know of that went through a lot. Had to go through surgery, and that surgery was caused by high blood pressure. I learned of a friend again in same South Korea. What happened? They collapsed and died. And when somebody collapses and die like that, a lot of time we say a lot of things. But again, there is a silent killer right there. That silent killer could have been avoided. You want to ask yourself, for the moment that person has been living in that country for so long, consuming whatever we are consuming in that country in large amount, because we find them. That is a tendency in the developed world. We find those things in excess. They are cheap. We have the money. We have the leverage to afford for them. We forget that it's taking a toll of our health. if there's one thing I appreciate, even though coming from a poor background, if there's something I appreciate so much is that, you know, we used to grow up in a family where our parents, when they prepare food, as a child, when you get a slice of meat, that day is really good, right? And we really wanted to eat more, but our parents could not afford for that meat at that time. But again, you know what? That was good. That was good. Because if they could afford for it, maybe I should have been consuming large amount of meat and all that, because that is the thing I saw in the United States. Because I could afford that and I could do all of this, I have to constantly advise my children on, do not consume this, because they see it. It's available. It's readily available. Mommy buys it, daddy buys it. It's just there. So if you don't tell them that, no, you need to moderate on this. You are using your money. You are using your money to buy sickness. You are using your money to buy bad health for yourself. So we need to control this. We need to watch our weight. We need to look after our high blood pressure. We need to look after our diabetes, because those are the conditions that could lead us to develop stroke. Stroke is very dangerous. Stroke could get you to a point where you cannot get back. Okay, so our next video probably will be on the management of stroke. How is stroke therefore managed? If it's that it has gotten to that point that you could not prevent it, okay, and you had all these conditions, and now you have finally developed a stroke, be it ischemic stroke, be it hemorrhagic stroke, or be it mini stroke, okay, and you could not manage it. The mini stroke, remember I said, is the transient ischemic stroke. If you cannot if you were not able to control that and it developed to stroke, how then can you manage the stroke? We're gonna look at that in our next video to come. But before we leave, one thing for us to go with: how do we identify stroke? We identify stroke with the 4 letters. Fast as in you driving fast. So we use the acronym FAST. Okay, we use the acronym FAST. The first letter there is F. The face of that individual is dropping. That is a sign. You see the face dropping, the face is changing. Sometimes the mouth is tilted on the one side. That is a sign. Okay. The next thing is A. The letter is A. A stands for arm is inactive. The arm, you cannot move your arm. So if that is affecting the right side of your brain, the left arm will not be active. You find that person cannot move the arm. Their motor position and their motor ability has been reduced on the side that has been affected. Okay. The next thing we have S. Okay. What is the acronym for our S right there? What does our S stands for? Okay. So we have FAST, F, A, and the S. What is our S? Our S stands for, what are you waiting for? What are you really waiting for? You have identified the face dropping. You have identified that the arm is not moving. Okay? What else are you waiting for? That is stroke right there happening now. So that is our S. That is stroke. S stands for that stroke that is happening at that moment. That is our stroke happening at that moment. So what are you waiting for? The last letter is T. Call 911. If you cannot call 911 where you find yourself, you need to go to the hospital right away. You need to get someone drive you to the hospital, because you may become incapacitated. And that is what I want to let us take today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, and please share so that this knowledge can get to so many people. Thank you all so much for watching, and bye. See you in our next video. I will always paste that so that you can come on live and listen to this. This may save someone, it may save your life, and we need to know. Thank you.